Hey, how's it going, everybody? This is Old Dirty Carpenter, and we're on day 16 of this twin home build. We're getting to the end of my first home series. Today it's going to be gables on the basket with my coworker, and then the next day will be gables all day solo by myself. After that, we'll be done with all the framing aspects, and then we'll just have to install all the doors and windows. So that's going to be the plan for the next couple videos. And the plan for today will be to get this whole front garage buttoned up. We'll then move in between the two houses to get both of those gables finished up at top. We'll also get all the fly rafters done for those gables, and then we'll end our day off on the right side of the house where we have a large unfinished gable there. So if you've been liking my building content, make sure you give it a thumbs up and subscribe if you want to follow along, and let's get this wrapped up. We ended off the last video pretty much being done with that small lower gable, so we're starting off in this big one this morning. I just nail up a small 4-foot piece as a starter and go from there. We're going to get this sheeted high enough so then we could put on that nailer board to finish that lower gable. I actually have the footage for this day that I missed on the last video. So then we'll get that lower gable done completely before we wrap up the top one. One of the things I do like about trusses is the 3.5-inch upright cords. It really does make it a little bit easier when you're nailing your plywood every 2 foot. This next piece of plywood has a notch at the bottom because of that 2x4 nailer. This gap in between these gables is like less than 2 foot, so it is a tight spot to work in. Plus I got nails from the plywood in the front poking me on my back. If you want to do rough framing though, you're going to end up in a lot of places that you're not going to want to be. You really should try to get the bottom of the sheet nice and good first. These sheets have a tendency to slide down, and then when that happens, you're going to have to remove the nail and pull it up, stuff like that. That's why I'm beating it right now, because it did slide down a little bit, so it was a tight fit, but it still worked. A simple triangle piece, which is just a up and down number and a left or right number. And this would be the last big piece before we just gotta finish that upper triangle part. You can cut a complicated piece here that notches all the way around the window, but I prefer to just split it up into separate triangles that go to the edge of the window frame. Then you fill it in with a little square piece in between with a normal triangle above it. It was a little tight, so I had to give it a trim. You don't want it pushing up against that roof plywood. When you're two-manning things, sometimes there's nothing to do but just sit back and wait a minute. But since I don't do everything, I still want to film as much of the building as I can. I think my battery dies while we're finishing that peak, so I changed that while we grab the paper. We'll get this on and then move on to the upper fly rafters. So this is a two-piece fly rafter. I didn't catch us getting the bottom piece on, but here we are doing the upper. So here we are doing the nailer, which is going to act as a fake rafter to end off this bottom gable. I didn't film us getting the line, but to achieve that, what you would do is get something straight, like a 4-foot level or a 2x4. You would run it along that fly rafter and gable truss until it hits this plywood. You'll mark it at the bottom and top and then just pop a line. And I'll make sure that it's nailed on every cord 2 foot.
Right here.
Then what you do on every fly rafter is you're going to make sure that it's nice and straight. You're going to get it nailed off on all the plywood and then trim any overhang. To get a proper eyeball on it, I had to take off my hat. We pretty much got to trim every gable, so you're going to see more of this on this video and the next. Then we move right along with this small rip to finish the lower gable. That was excellent. Now we're going to get these bird boxes framed so then we could get those fly rafters on and finish up this front. And since I already did this once, there should be a lot less mistakes. But this overhang was jutting out a little bit too much, so I do have to cut this rafter tail. For those that missed my video where I built the other bird boxes, they're basically just small rectangular boxes on the front of this garage with a small roof return, and they basically just tie in where 2 roofs come together. And they're pretty much mostly just for looks. But anyways, I'm going to plane this fascia piece with this rafter. I'm going to get this leveled and then use a framing square to get my marks on the plywood where my backboard piece will go. This is just a small ledger board to connect it to the wall. I remembered to leave it 1.5 inches in so then it would cap it properly as well. Is it? Let me see that. Wait, our ledger. Cut it 22 3/8. This is my top ledger board piece where my small triangle rafters will connect to. I make sure that it fits nice before I nail that ledger board off more. A lot of these bird boxes and fly rafters will also get some type of finished trim wood as well. These little 2x6 blocks are just to support the little rafter and keep it more stable. Then we just get our numbers for the piece of plywood. I do believe my battery dies though right when I'm about to put it on.
Replit. Your long rip is 15 3/4. So on your right side, you're gonna come down to an eighth. That's where the jog is. So it's down to an eighth, and then the rest of the rip is 14. Okay. But you're going 13 1/4 from your right side. That's how far it goes.
All that's left is this last fly rafter, and then we're going to move in between both of the houses. Cheese?
Yep.
How is this one not nailed? If you've been following along with my videos, you would have seen at one point when we were sheeting one of these back roofs that one of my other coworkers was on the machine doing one of these gables by himself. Well, we just need to finish it up with one piece of paper at the peak and one really long fly rafter. It's kind of annoying getting that machine square in between these two houses. It's kind of a tight fit. So I put that block down there to hold the fly rafter because we have to go in here sideways. So that makes it really awkward when you're doing it at this angle with a really long 2x6. But I'm just nailing these fly blocks every 4 foot on these plywood seams just to stay consistent.
Ow! You coming? Oh! Huh? I know. Go up! Yep. Yeah. Sleepers.
This scrap piece of paper was just a little bit short to fill that whole gap, but we get it all patched up.
Yeah. I mean, it's kind of all on, but yeah, I look nice. Like,
We have a nail sticking out of this basket frame, so unfortunately it got caught in the paper.
yep. We need a small strip. Another strip of paper. Round through the fly blocks. Can I get a small strip of paper? Yeah, it's just no paper. Yep.
I was kind of lucky. It doesn't always work out like this. It kind of depends on the pitch of the gable that you're working on. But the way the basket was, I was able to rest this fly rafter on the edge of it, so then I didn't have to hold it in the middle at this weird angle. My coworker was making sure that it was tight to the fascia at the bottom. Then you just make sure that it's flush with the fly blocks and then nail it. And now we got our second finisher piece.
Go back down a little bit. Yeah, I mean, it blocks right in the gap, so it's basically hardwood block top.
Make sure this paper slips under the top piece so then the water will roll over it. This pitch is pretty shallow, so I just hop up there to get it all nailed off, instead of going up and down with the basket. Like I said before, the reason that I leave the gable unnailed is because you want to get that fly rafter straight, and you can't really pull that fly rafter in and out if that gable is already nailed where it is, so it's just easier to leave it unnailed until everything's nice and straight, then do it all in one go. Another tip when you're sheeting overhangs. Of course, it's always best to try to get the correct number and cut it to that length. But if you're unsure on that number, just run your plywood long. Because if you do it that way, worst case scenario is you might have to cut it back a little bit. But if you run your plywood short and it's not covering up enough of the fly, then what you'll have to do is cut that sheet back, cut another bigger piece to replace it, and it's a lot more work. But anyway, that's it for that gable, and now we're going to move on to the house right next to it. This side is almost practically done too. We just got a little bit of sheeting and paper, and then the fly rafters. Just a couple pieces and we get this sheeted pretty quickly. By the way, if you have any questions about what I'm doing or why I'm doing it, or if you have any tips on how I can do things better, definitely leave a comment and let me know. When you're doing gables, there's a lot of switching around between tools and the ammo and stuff.
Yeah.
And like before, we'll get this fly rafter finished and then move on to the other side.
There you go.
This is me looking down the fly rafter to make sure that it's straight. You can't really tell with the way the camera angle is. I'm going to hop back up here and get this side all buttoned up.
Right down there. Right here.
And now we're moving on to the front side of the fly. Since this is where the basket was, we just start with the upper piece first.
You want nail clip there? No, that's good. Oh, plywood's so high.
And it's always best to add an extra block at the seam if you're two-piecing the fly rafter.
Is that good enough? Is that close it? You want something in?
For whatever reason, this sheeting wasn't held out long enough, so we have one of those annoying fixes that I was talking about earlier. If you add like a small 2-3 inch rip on this, not only will it just not be really stable, it's going to look really dumb. So the thing you'll have to do is cut it back and just add a bigger piece. I guess I didn't get the footage of us repairing this part, but we just move on, grab some plywood, and get to one of these outside gables.
What do you say? Jabroni?
So here's just a small clip of us loading up plywood on the basket to finish one of the gables. The way the videos are, it may just seem like things are right in front of me and then I just go on building it. And that's mainly for two reasons. For one, the moving the wood around parts are pretty boring. And two, it takes up more time, which means more battery and footage and longer videos. So don't be fooled. If you want to do this job, there is a lot of labor, a lot of moving wood. It is tiring. I just don't show all of that. But if you do want to see me do more monotonous aspects of the job, just drop a comment.
Should we take a rest? Like a couple more? One more? Three more? Don't matter. A lot.
So here we are on one of the outside gables. This side yard only has a small strip of grass before it meets up with the neighbor's yard, so we have to go in sideways instead of square again. So when you're positioned like this, there's only so much you can do, but I try to help out as much as I can. But just like the other ones where you get it plywooded, we'll get it all papered and then do the fly rafters.
So, right here too.
While we've been doing all the outside work over the past day or two, the other guys have been doing all the finish work on the inside, like drywall nailers, stuff like that. So I don't get a lot of the punch out work other than the main framing for this house, but I do get more of that on my other two houses.
Yep. Go back out a bunch. Okay.
Make sure you pull your helper nails as you go or it'll poke out when you do your paper.
Go this way. Oh, my bad. That's right here. Damn, they did all these manually.
But that's about going to wrap it up for today's video. We just get a couple more sheets on, a piece of paper, and another fly piece. For my next video, I'm going to be wrapping up this gable by myself. After that, I believe I move to the other far side of the two houses, and then do that complete gable like this side. I'm not sure if that's all I get done. It might have just took longer because it was by myself, but I won't know until I get to editing the footage. But regardless, that'll be the last main day of framing, and then a short day where we install the windows. So if you've been interested in this building series and you want to have some input on what house that I upload next,
Like that?
I do have a poll in my communities tab where I have information on the two houses that I already built. I'm not sure if you have to be a subscriber to access and vote on that though. So if you're just a casual viewer and you want to have some input on which one I upload, just drop a comment. The first option would be another truss house like these. It took 11 days to build, so 11 videos for that one. The second option is a stick frame house where we manually build the roof, which took 14 days or 2 weeks worth of videos. So please drop a comment and let me know what you want to see. Make sure you like and subscribe if you haven't already, and I'll catch you on day 17, the final day of framing.
You what? Yeah, you were hungry? No. I was checking my GoPro.